What if everything you've been told about building wealth is completely backwards? What if the real secret isn't working harder, saving more, or even having the right connections, but something far more fundamental that operates in the invisible realm of your mind? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. For over a century, there's been a manuscript circulating quietly among the wealthy elite, a text so powerful that those who understand it guard its secrets carefully. This isn't some modern self-help book or motivational fluff. This is Wallace Wattles' original work that reveals wealth creation as an exact science, as precise and predictable as mathematics itself. Has this ever happened to you? You've tried all the conventional financial advice, budgeting, investing, side hustles, yet somehow the breakthrough you're looking for remains just out of reach? The manuscript suggests there's a reason for this. According to Wattles, wealth doesn't come from external circumstances or lucky breaks. It emerges from understanding and applying specific mental and spiritual laws that govern the flow of abundance. Think about it. Why do some people seem to effortlessly attract opportunities while others struggle despite their best efforts? The answer, according to this hidden text, lies in something called the original substance theory. This theory proposes that the entire universe consists of an original mental substance, an invisible material that responds directly to our dominant thoughts and beliefs. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might completely change how you think about money and success. This substance supposedly organizes itself to materialize whatever we focus on with absolute clarity and unwavering faith, regardless of whether you call it God, universal energy, or quantum consciousness. Now, you might be thinking this sounds too mystical or abstract to be practical, but here's where it gets interesting. This isn't about wishful thinking or positive affirmations alone. The manuscript outlines specific, actionable principles that treat wealth creation like a science experiment. When you understand the exact mental conditions required, when you align your thoughts with these invisible laws, the results become as predictable as mixing hydrogen and oxygen to create water. The wealthy have always known this secret. They understand that before any fortune manifests in the physical world, it must first exist as a clear, unwavering mental blueprint. They've learned to work with this original substance, this responsive field of possibility, in ways that most people never discover. What you're about to learn isn't just theory, it's a practical system that's been quietly producing extraordinary results for those who understand how to apply it. The question isn't whether these principles work, but whether you're ready to fundamentally shift how you approach wealth creation. Because once you understand what's coming next, once you see how the mind actually creates material reality, your entire relationship with money will never be the same. But here's where most people stumble, and it's a mistake that costs them years of potential abundance. They approach these principles with one foot in doubt and the other in hope, creating a mental contradiction that sabotages their results before they even begin. If you want more advanced wealth-building techniques like these, subscribing ensures you won't miss the deeper principles I share regularly. The manuscript reveals something that might challenge everything you believe about positive thinking. It's not enough to simply want wealth, or even to visualize it occasionally. What Wattles discovered is that success requires thinking about your desires with such unwavering faith that absolutely no contrary images are allowed to enter your mind. This isn't about suppressing negative thoughts through willpower. It's about achieving a level of mental certainty so complete that doubt simply doesn't exist in that space. Think of it this way. When you're driving to a familiar destination, you don't constantly worry about whether you'll arrive. You have complete faith in the journey, and that certainty guides every turn and decision along the way. The manuscript suggests that wealth creation requires this same kind of unshakable conviction. You must live in what Wattles calls a mental vibration of abundance, rather than constantly focusing on current limitations or entertaining fears about what might go wrong. This brings us to one of the most powerful revelations in the text, the concept of frequency-based thinking. Your mind operates exactly like a radio station, constantly transmitting signals into this responsive universe. If you're broadcasting on the frequency of fear, worry, or scarcity, you literally cannot receive the signals of prosperity that are trying to reach you. It's not that opportunities aren't available, it's that you're tuned to the wrong channel. The transformation happens when you realize that changing your mental frequency isn't about forcing positivity or denying reality. It's about making a fundamental decision about which version of reality you're going to participate in. The wealthy understand this principle instinctively. They've learned to maintain their inner frequency regardless of external circumstances, which is why they can see possibilities where others see problems and find solutions where others find excuses. This hidden truth explains why two people can face identical situations yet produce completely different outcomes. One person transmits confidence and expectation, naturally attracting support, resources, and opportunities. The other broadcasts uncertainty and limitation, inadvertently repelling the very things they claim to want. The universe isn't playing favorites, it's simply responding to the signals each person is sending. The journey of transformation begins the moment you recognize that your current financial reality is a direct reflection of your dominant mental frequency. Every thought you think consistently, every emotion you feel repeatedly, every belief you hold unconsciously is shaping the material world around you. This isn't mystical thinking. It's understanding how your internal state creates your external experience through the decisions you make, the actions you take, and the opportunities you either see or miss. Now, I want to go even deeper into this concept, because what comes next will show you exactly how to identify and shift your current frequency. The manuscript doesn't just explain these principles theoretically, it provides specific techniques for recognizing when you're operating from scarcity versus abundance, and more importantly, how to make the switch in real time. The impact of mastering this single skill cannot be overstated, because once you learn to consciously choose your frequency, you become the director of your own financial destiny rather than a victim of circumstances. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to change my frequency," if this resonates with you. The revelations become even more profound when you discover the specific practices that actually rewire your internal frequency. Behind the scenes of every major financial transformation, there's a hidden discipline that most people overlook because it seems too simple to be powerful. Yet this practice forms the foundation of how the wealthy program their minds for inevitable success. The manuscript reveals that daily wealth affirmations aren't about reciting positive mantras like a broken record. There's a crucial difference between mechanically repeating empty words and genuinely embodying the reality of financial transformation. When Wattles speaks of affirmations, he's describing a process where you write and speak phrases like, "I am receiving wealth in all possible forms," while actually feeling the truth of that statement in your body, your emotions, and your entire being. This distinction changes everything. Most people approach affirmations as if they're trying to convince themselves of something that isn't true, which creates internal resistance and sabotages the entire process. The breakthrough happens when you realize that effective affirmations aren't about creating a false reality. They're about tuning into a frequency where abundance is already flowing. You're not lying to yourself, you're aligning with a deeper truth that exists beyond your current circumstances. This brings us to perhaps the most counterintuitive discovery in the entire manuscript. Wealthy individuals don't become rich and then start thinking like rich people. The transformation happens in the exact opposite sequence. They develop what the manuscript calls the pre-success mindset, programming themselves mentally and aligning their thoughts with abundance long before external evidence supports their vision. If this provided insights you can actually apply, the like button shows me you're ready for more advanced techniques. Think about the implications of this revelation. While most people wait for their bank account to change before they'll allow themselves to think abundantly, the wealthy understand that the inner transformation must precede the outer manifestation. They make decisions, approach opportunities, and navigate challenges from the perspective of someone who has already achieved their financial goals. This isn't pretending or living in denial. It's operating from a place of certainty about their eventual success. The journey of developing this pre-success mindset requires a fundamental shift in how you relate to time and probability. Instead of viewing wealth as something that might happen if you're lucky, you begin to see it as an inevitable outcome of applying specific principles consistently. This certainty changes every decision you make, every relationship you build, and every opportunity you pursue. The wealthy don't hope for success. They expect it. They don't wish for abundance. They prepare for it. This mindset shapes their daily choices in ways that most people never recognize. They invest in themselves before they see returns. They take calculated risks that others avoid out of fear. They maintain their vision when temporary setbacks would derail someone operating from scarcity consciousness. What makes this mindset so powerful is that it creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you genuinely believe in your inevitable success, you naturally take actions that align with that belief. You show up differently in meetings, you negotiate from a position of strength, you recognize opportunities that desperation would blind you to, and you persist through challenges that would stop someone who's operating from doubt. The hidden truth is that this transformation doesn't require you to ignore reality or live in fantasy. It requires you to recognize that your current financial situation is simply a temporary snapshot, not a permanent identity. The decisions you make today from your new frequency will create different results tomorrow, and those results will reinforce your expanding belief in what's possible. Now, I want to explore the specific techniques that make this mental programming stick, because knowing these principles intellectually is completely different from embodying them in your daily life. Write in the comments, "I choose abundance," if you're ready to embrace this pre-success mindset. The techniques become even more powerful when you understand the single biggest trap that keeps most people stuck in financial struggle, and it's so deeply embedded in our culture that we mistake it for natural law. The manuscript identifies competition as one of the most destructive forces working against wealth creation, yet we've been conditioned from childhood to believe that competing is the path to success. Here's the hidden truth that changes everything. When you enter into competition, your mind automatically accepts scarcity as an absolute reality. Think about what competition actually means at its core. You're operating from the belief that resources are limited, that there's only so much success to go around, and that for you to win, someone else must lose. This mindset creates a fundamental contradiction in your wealth frequency, because you're simultaneously trying to attract abundance while believing in limitation. The impact of this contradiction runs deeper than most people realize. Every time you worry about competitors taking your market share, every moment you spend comparing yourself to others in your field, every decision you make from the fear that someone else might get there first, you're reinforcing the very scarcity consciousness that blocks the flow of wealth toward you. You're essentially telling the universe that you believe in shortage, and the universe responds by giving you exactly that experience. The transformation begins when you recognize that true wealth builders operate from an entirely different paradigm. They don't compete, they create. This isn't just a philosophical distinction, it's a practical strategy that opens up unlimited possibilities. Competition belongs to what the manuscript calls the old world of fighting over existing resources, while creation represents a new way of thinking where you generate something that didn't exist before. Consider the difference in energy between these two approaches. When you're competing, you're reactive, constantly looking over your shoulder, adjusting your strategy based on what others are doing. Your decisions are driven by fear of being left behind or beaten to the market. This reactive mindset keeps you trapped in a game where the rules are set by external circumstances and other people's choices. Creation operates from a completely different frequency. When you're creating, you're proactive, setting your own agenda, developing solutions that emerge from your unique perspective and capabilities. Instead of fighting for a piece of an existing pie, you're baking an entirely new pie that only you can make. This shift in thinking changes everything: your stress levels, your creativity, your ability to see opportunities, and most importantly, your capacity to generate genuine value. The journey from competitor to creator requires recognizing that scarcity is often an illusion maintained by limited thinking. The manuscript reveals that in most cases, what appears to be competition for limited resources is actually an opportunity to expand the entire market by approaching problems differently. While others are fighting over existing customers, you can be creating new categories that attract people who weren't even aware they needed a solution. This mindset transformation doesn't happen overnight, but the moment you begin to see yourself as a creator rather than a competitor, you'll notice changes in how you approach challenges, evaluate opportunities, and make decisions. Instead of asking, "How can I beat the competition?" you start asking, "What can I create that would make competition irrelevant?" This single shift in questioning opens up possibilities that simply don't exist in the competitive mindset. Hit subscribe to join others who are serious about mastering the complete system of wealth creation through mental science. The wealthy understand this principle intuitively, which is why they often seem to be playing by different rules. They're not trying to outmaneuver competitors. They're creating entirely new games where they have the advantage of being first to market with innovative solutions. They've discovered that there's infinitely more wealth available in uncontested spaces than in crowded competitive arenas. Now, I want to reveal how this creator mindset practically transforms the way you identify and pursue opportunities, because understanding this principle intellectually is just the beginning of a much deeper transformation. Write in the comments, "I choose to create," if you're ready to step out of the competition trap. The transformation deepens when you embrace what the manuscript calls the infinite opportunity mindset. And this might be the most radical shift of all, because it challenges everything our culture teaches about scarcity and limitation. The hidden truth is that there's no actual shortage of wealth in this world, only an infinite ocean of expanding opportunities and resources that most people never learn to see. This revelation fundamentally changes how you approach every business decision and life choice. Instead of operating from the assumption that opportunities are rare and you need to grab whatever comes your way, you begin to understand that new possibilities are being created constantly. The universe is always expanding, technology is always advancing, human needs are always evolving, and problems are always emerging that require creative solutions. This means that opportunities aren't diminishing, they're multiplying exponentially. The impact of adopting this mindset goes far beyond optimistic thinking. When you truly believe that opportunities are infinite, you become more selective about which ones deserve your attention. You stop saying yes to mediocre possibilities out of fear that nothing better will come along. You start evaluating options based on alignment with your vision rather than desperation to secure any income. This selectivity paradoxically opens up better opportunities because you're operating from abundance rather than scarcity. But here's where the journey gets even more interesting. The manuscript reveals a specific practice that accelerates this transformation in ways that seem almost counterintuitive. To break free from competitive mentality completely, you must learn to genuinely bless others' success, especially those in your field who seem to be achieving what you want. The behind-the-scenes psychology of this practice is profound. Every time you see someone succeeding and your first reaction is envy, comparison, or fear that their success diminishes your chances, you're reinforcing scarcity consciousness. You're telling your subconscious that success is limited and that someone else's win is your loss. This creates internal resistance that blocks your own prosperity. The transformation happens when you train yourself to have a completely different response. Instead of feeling threatened by others' success, you consciously choose to see it as proof that what you want is possible. The manuscript suggests declaring, "Their prosperity proves mine is possible," whenever you witness someone achieving financial success in your area. This isn't just positive thinking, it's reprogramming your mind to see abundance as expandable rather than finite. This practice works because it shifts your identity from someone competing for limited resources to someone participating in unlimited expansion. When you celebrate others' wins, you're aligning yourself with the frequency of success rather than the frequency of lack. You're training your brain to notice abundance everywhere, which makes you more likely to spot opportunities for yourself. The deeper revelation is that their success literally does prove yours is possible. If they can create wealth in your market, it means the infrastructure exists, the demand is there, and the pathways are proven. Instead of seeing their achievement as competition, you can see it as market validation and inspiration for your own creative approach. This mindset shift changes everything about how you network, collaborate, and view your industry. Instead of seeing potential partners as threats, you begin to recognize that their success can complement and amplify your own. You start looking for ways to create value together rather than fighting for the same resources. This collaborative approach often leads to opportunities that would never have existed in a competitive framework. The journey of transformation accelerates dramatically once you internalize this principle because you're no longer wasting energy on resentment, comparison, or fear. All that mental and emotional energy gets redirected toward creation, innovation, and building genuine value. You become someone that opportunities are naturally drawn to because you're operating from expansion rather than contraction. Now, I want to dive deeper into the specific mechanisms that make this shift permanent, because understanding how to maintain this mindset during challenging times is where the real mastery lies. Write in the comments, "I celebrate all success," if you're ready to embrace this infinite opportunity mindset. The mastery becomes evident when you understand why creators always achieve long-term victory, while competitors remain trapped in endless short-term battles. The hidden truth is that competition forces you to fight over existing resources, which creates a ceiling on your potential success. You're essentially playing a zero-sum game where your growth depends on taking something away from someone else. This approach might generate quick wins, but it's fundamentally unsustainable because you're not adding value to the world. You're just redistributing what already exists. Creators operate from an entirely different paradigm that transforms the entire game. Instead of fighting over limited resources, they generate new value and expand possibilities that didn't exist before. This approach has no ceiling because you're not constrained by what currently exists. You're constantly creating new realities, new markets, new solutions that add to the total wealth available to everyone. The impact of this shift goes far beyond financial returns. It changes your entire relationship with success and abundance. Your like helps this reach others searching for real answers about wealth creation. The journey of becoming a true creator requires patience because the rewards aren't always immediate. Competitors might seem to gain ground faster in the short term because they're grabbing existing opportunities while you're building something entirely new. But this is where understanding the long-term perspective becomes crucial. Every moment you spend creating genuine value is an investment that compounds over time, while competitive advantages built on fighting for existing resources tend to be temporary and easily copied. Behind the scenes of every major business transformation, you'll find this principle at work. The companies that dominate their industries long-term aren't the ones that competed most aggressively. They're the ones that created entirely new categories, redefined customer expectations, or solved problems in ways that made the old competitive landscape irrelevant. They understood that true wealth comes from expansion, not extraction. Now, I want to explore the emotional and energetic foundation that makes this creator mindset sustainable, because without the right internal alignment, even the best strategies eventually crumble under pressure. The manuscript reveals that gratitude serves as the master key that unlocks consistent wealth flow by aligning your mind with what it calls receiving frequencies. This isn't the superficial thankfulness that we express out of politeness or social conditioning. The transformation happens when you understand that gratitude is actually a living, vibrant state that literally changes your brain chemistry and rewires your nervous system for abundance. When you're genuinely grateful, your body releases different hormones, your perception shifts to notice opportunities rather than obstacles, and your entire energy field becomes magnetic to positive experiences. The science behind this is remarkable. Gratitude activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which puts you in a state of rest and creativity rather than fight or flight. This physiological shift is crucial because you simply cannot access your highest creative and strategic thinking when you're operating from stress, fear, or scarcity. The manuscript suggests that this is why grateful people seem to attract better opportunities. They're literally in a different state of consciousness that allows them to see and act on possibilities that stress would blind them to. The hidden truth is that gratitude creates what the manuscript calls vibrational alignment with abundance. When you're genuinely appreciative of what you have, you're operating from the frequency of enough rather than not enough. This subtle but profound shift changes everything about how you show up in the world, how you make decisions, and how others experience you. People are naturally drawn to those who radiate appreciation and contentment because that energy feels safe and inspiring. The journey deepens when you realize that this isn't about forcing gratitude when you don't feel it, but about cultivating a genuine appreciation for the abundance that's already present in your life, even if your financial situation isn't where you want it to be yet. Write in the comments, "I choose gratitude," if you're ready to unlock this vibrational alignment with abundance. The revelation becomes even more practical when you understand how to transform gratitude from an occasional positive feeling into what the manuscript calls a living gratitude practice. This goes far beyond simply thinking nice thoughts or expressing appreciation when good things happen. The transformation occurs when you learn to feel genuine gratitude for what you already have right now, regardless of your current circumstances or financial situation. The hidden power in this practice lies in the signal it sends to your subconscious mind. When you authentically appreciate what's already present in your life, you're essentially telling your subconscious that you're someone who receives good things. This shifts your internal vibration from emptiness and lack to fullness and abundance. And that shift changes everything about how you perceive opportunities, make decisions, and show up in the world. Think about the profound difference between operating from "I don't have enough" versus "I'm grateful for what I have and excited about what's coming." These aren't just different thoughts, they're completely different identities that create different realities. The person operating from gratitude naturally attracts more reasons to be grateful because they're broadcasting the frequency of someone who recognizes and appreciates value. The manuscript reveals a specific daily practice that makes this transformation permanent rather than temporary. Each morning, before your mind gets caught up in the day's demands and distractions, you mentally acknowledge 10 things you're genuinely grateful for. But here's the crucial part that most people miss. You must feel the emotion deeply, not just think the words mechanically. This distinction changes everything because emotion is the language your subconscious understands, not intellectual concepts or empty phrases. When you simply think, "I'm grateful for my health," without actually feeling the appreciation in your body, it's like speaking to someone in a language they don't understand. But when you pause and actually feel the relief, joy, or peace that comes with having good health, you're communicating directly with the part of your mind that controls your beliefs, habits, and automatic responses. The journey of developing this emotional connection to gratitude reveals something remarkable about human psychology. Most of us have been conditioned to focus on what's missing, what's wrong, or what needs to be fixed. This negative bias served our ancestors well when survival was uncertain, but in today's world, it often keeps us trapped in scarcity consciousness, even when we have more abundance than previous generations could have imagined. The daily gratitude ritual rewires this ancient programming by training your attention to notice what's working, what's available, and what's already flowing in your life. The impact of this shift extends far beyond feeling good. It literally changes what you perceive as possible and what actions you're willing to take. When you're genuinely grateful for your current resources, you're more likely to use them creatively rather than hoarding them out of fear. Behind the scenes of this practice, something even more profound is happening. You're developing what the manuscript calls abundance consciousness, a state where you naturally expect good things to happen and you're prepared to receive them when they do. This expectation isn't wishful thinking. It's a fundamental shift in your relationship with reality that makes you more likely to notice opportunities, take appropriate risks, and persist through temporary setbacks. The transformation becomes self-reinforcing because gratitude naturally generates more experiences worth being grateful for. When you appreciate what you have, you take better care of it, use it more effectively, and attract people who want to add value to your life rather than take from it. Now, I want to explore how this foundation of gratitude becomes the launching pad for an even more powerful practice that amplifies your ability to attract specific outcomes and opportunities. Write in the comments, "I feel grateful now," if you're ready to embrace this living gratitude practice. The amplification of this practice reveals one of the most fascinating discoveries in the manuscript, what it calls gratitude's hidden radar power. When you consistently practice genuine appreciation, something remarkable happens in your brain that most people never realize. You activate what neuroscientists call the reticular activating system, which functions like a mental radar that suddenly makes visible opportunities and resources that were always there but previously invisible to your awareness. Think about how this works in everyday life. When you're considering buying a particular car, you suddenly start noticing that model everywhere on the road. The cars were always there, but your brain wasn't programmed to pay attention to them until they became relevant to your current focus. The same principle applies to opportunities, connections, and resources that can accelerate your wealth creation. When your mind is tuned to gratitude and abundance, you literally start seeing possibilities that desperation or scarcity consciousness would blind you to. The hidden truth behind this mechanism is that your brain is constantly filtering millions of pieces of information, choosing what to bring to your conscious attention based on what it believes is important to you. When you operate from lack and frustration, your mental radar is tuned to problems, obstacles, and reasons why things won't work. But when you shift to genuine appreciation, your brain starts highlighting solutions, opportunities, and people who can help you achieve your goals. This transformation in perception creates a compound effect that accelerates over time. The more opportunities you notice and act on, the more evidence you have that abundance is real and accessible. This evidence reinforces your gratitude practice, which further refines your mental radar, creating an upward spiral of increasing awareness and opportunity recognition. Now, the manuscript takes this concept even further with what might be its most controversial yet powerful revelation, the practice of pre-manifestation gratitude. This involves thanking before receiving, which the text claims declares ownership of your desires and mobilizes invisible forces to make them real, through what it calls energetic certainty. The journey into this territory challenges everything we've been taught about how reality works. Instead of waiting until something good happens to feel grateful, you deliberately cultivate appreciation for outcomes that haven't yet materialized in your physical experience. This isn't about denial or fantasy. It's about operating from the understanding that your current circumstances are temporary and that your consistent mental and emotional patterns are constantly creating your future reality. The impact of this practice goes beyond positive thinking because it fundamentally changes your relationship with time and possibility. When you thank the universe for the success that's on its way to you, you're not hoping or wishing, you're declaring a certainty that shifts your entire approach to decision-making and action-taking. You start preparing for success rather than protecting yourself from failure. Behind the scenes of this mental shift, something profound happens to your behavior and choices. When you operate from the certainty that your desired outcome is inevitable, you naturally take actions that align with that expectation. You invest in yourself before you see returns. You make bold moves that caution would prevent. You persist through temporary setbacks because you're not depending on external validation to confirm that you're on the right path. The manuscript suggests that this energetic certainty creates what it calls magnetic attraction for the specific outcomes you're grateful for in advance. Whether you understand this as psychological, spiritual, or simply the natural result of confident action, the practical effects are undeniable. People who genuinely expect good things to happen tend to position themselves in places where good things occur. Now, I want to reveal how this foundation of gratitude and certainty becomes the launching pad for one of the most practical and powerful techniques in the entire manuscript. Write in the comments, "I trust what's coming," if you're ready to embrace this pre-manifestation gratitude practice. The practical technique that emerges from this foundation reveals what the manuscript calls the invisible blueprint concept. And this principle bridges the gap between internal transformation and external results. The hidden truth is that all wealth must first exist in the mind before it can manifest physically. Just as architects create detailed plans before breaking ground on a building, you must develop clear mental blueprints for your financial life if you want to construct lasting prosperity. This concept challenges the conventional approach of waiting to see what opportunities arise and then reacting accordingly. Instead, the manuscript suggests that successful wealth builders work backwards from their vision, creating such a detailed mental picture of their desired outcome that their subconscious mind begins organizing their decisions, actions, and attention around making that blueprint real. The transformation happens when you realize that most people operate without any blueprint at all. They hope for better circumstances, work hard in whatever direction seems promising, and wonder why their efforts don't accumulate into the life they want. Without a clear internal design, their energy gets scattered across countless possibilities, never building the focused momentum that significant wealth creation requires. The journey of creating your invisible blueprint involves more than just imagining a better future. The manuscript reveals that effective visualization requires 3 specific elements working together in a precise way. These elements, Clarity, emotion, and repetition must be combined systematically to imprint your subconscious mind with success patterns that automatically guide your behavior toward your desired outcomes. Clarity means developing exact specifications for what you want to create, not vague wishes for more money or financial freedom. The manuscript insists that your mind responds to specific images and detailed scenarios, not abstract concepts. You need to know exactly how much wealth you're building, what it will enable you to do, how it will change your daily experience, and what your life will look like when you achieve this level of financial success. The emotional component involves feeling as if you already have what you're visualizing. This isn't about pretending or living in fantasy. It's about accessing the emotional state that accompanies your desired outcome and anchoring that feeling in your nervous system. When you can genuinely feel the security, freedom, and satisfaction that comes with financial abundance, you're programming your subconscious to seek out the experiences and opportunities that generate those same feelings in reality. Repetition transforms this practice from an occasional exercise into a systematic reprogramming of your automatic responses and perceptions. The manuscript emphasizes daily practice because your subconscious mind learns through consistent exposure, not one-time events. Each session of detailed visualization strengthens the neural pathways associated with your desired outcome, making it feel more natural and achievable. Behind the scenes of this process, something remarkable happens to your decision-making patterns. When you have a clear, emotionally charged blueprint that you review regularly, you naturally start making choices that align with that vision. You recognize opportunities that support your plan while avoiding distractions that would derail your progress. Your intuition becomes more reliable because it's guided by a specific destination rather than wandering aimlessly. The impact of this systematic approach goes beyond individual visualization sessions. Your blueprint becomes an internal compass that influences everything from how you spend your time to which relationships you cultivate, to what risks you're willing to take. Now, I want to explore how this blueprint creation process connects with the real-world actions that transform mental images into tangible results. Write in the comments, "I'm building my blueprint," if you're ready to create your invisible wealth design. The connection between blueprint and reality becomes undeniable when you hear the story the manuscript shares about a merchant who transformed his entire financial situation through this exact process. This wasn't some abstract success story or theoretical example. It was a detailed account of how systematic visualization produced extraordinary results in the real world. This merchant decided to multiply his income by 10, which seemed impossible given his current circumstances and market position. But instead of focusing on how difficult this would be or all the reasons it might not work, he created an incredibly detailed mental movie of the moment when this transformation would become real. Every day, he visualized himself signing the contract that would change everything, seeing the mahogany desk where the meeting would take place, feeling the weight of the pen in his hand, noticing the confident smile on his client's face, even hearing the sound of papers rustling as the agreement was finalized. The transformation occurred through his commitment to experiencing this scene with complete sensory detail until it felt more real than his current circumstances. He didn't just think about success. He lived it mentally until his nervous system couldn't distinguish between the visualization and actual memory. This level of emotional and sensory engagement programmed his subconscious to recognize and attract the exact circumstances he had been rehearsing. What happened next reveals the hidden power of this practice. Within months, an opportunity emerged that he never could have predicted or planned for logically. A client approached him with a proposal that seemed to come from nowhere, and when the contract signing took place, every detail matched his visualization exactly. The desk, the pen, the client's expression. even subtle elements he had imagined but never expected to see in reality. Behind the scenes of this remarkable outcome, the manuscript reveals what it calls the gratitude visualization formula, which combines the blueprint creation process with the vibrational alignment we explored earlier. When you merge detailed visualization with genuine gratitude, you create what the text describes as the most powerful wealth multiplication formula available, because you're sending double signals of reality and readiness to both your subconscious mind and the responsive universe around you. This combination works because visualization creates the blueprint, while gratitude establishes the frequency of someone who already receives good things. Instead of desperately hoping for something to change, you're operating from the certainty of someone who recognizes that abundance is already flowing and expanding in your direction. This energetic stance attracts opportunities and synchronicities that desperation would repel. The journey of mastering this formula requires understanding that you're not trying to manipulate reality through mental tricks. You're aligning your internal state with the outcomes you desire until that alignment becomes so natural that your external circumstances have no choice but to shift accordingly. Your thoughts, emotions, decisions, and actions all begin working together toward the same specific destination. The impact of this practice extends beyond individual success stories because it changes your fundamental relationship with possibility itself. You stop seeing desired outcomes as distant dreams that may or may not happen and start experiencing them as inevitable results of consistent internal work. Now, I want to reveal how this powerful combination of visualization and gratitude creates a specific type of emotional state that dissolves the internal resistance most people don't even realize is blocking their progress. Write in the comments, "I see my success clearly," if you're ready to apply this gratitude visualization formula. The emotional state this formula creates reveals one of the most profound discoveries in the entire manuscript: gratitude's power as an anxiety dissolver. When you practice being grateful for something that hasn't yet manifested physically, something remarkable happens in your psychology. Your mind stops insisting that it's missing and starts operating as if it's already fulfilled. This shift dissolves the internal resistance and desperate energy that actually blocks the very outcomes you're trying to create. Think about the difference between wanting something desperately and appreciating something you already have. Desperation creates tension, anxiety, and a frequency of lack that pushes opportunities away. When you're genuinely grateful for your future success as if it's already unfolding, you naturally relax into a state of confident expectation that makes you far more attractive to the people, resources, and circumstances that can help you achieve your goals. The transformation occurs because anxiety and gratitude cannot coexist in the same moment. When you're truly appreciative, your nervous system shifts out of fight or flight mode and into what neuroscientists call rest and digest, which is where creativity, intuition, and strategic thinking flourish. This physiological change isn't just about feeling better, it's about accessing the mental states that produce breakthrough insights and inspired actions. Behind the scenes of this shift, the manuscript introduces what it calls matrix responsiveness theory, which suggests that everything in the physical world originates from an invisible matrix that responds to the mental impressions we consistently create. According to this theory, gratitude combined with clear imagery produces the strongest possible impressions on this responsive field, essentially programming reality to organize itself around your dominant mental patterns. Now, whether you understand this as metaphysical principle, psychological programming, or simply the natural result of confident action, the practical effects remain consistent. People who operate from grateful expectation rather than anxious hoping tend to make better decisions, notice more opportunities, and attract more support from others. They're not stressed or desperate, which makes them more pleasant to work with and more trustworthy as business partners. The hidden truth is that this relaxed confidence changes how you show up in every interaction. When you're not carrying the energy of someone who desperately needs something to work out, you're free to focus on creating value, building relationships, and solving problems. This shift in focus naturally leads to better outcomes because you're operating from contribution rather than extraction. The journey of embodying this state requires practice because most of us have been conditioned to believe that anxiety and stress are necessary motivators. The manuscript challenges this assumption by demonstrating that calm certainty produces far better results than frantic effort. When you trust that your desired outcome is unfolding naturally, you make clearer decisions and take more effective actions. This doesn't mean becoming passive or complacent. The grateful expectation state actually energizes you to take inspired action because you're not wasting energy on worry or doubt. All that mental and emotional energy gets redirected toward productive activities that move you closer to your vision. The impact of mastering this anxiety-dissolving approach extends beyond financial goals because it changes your entire relationship with challenge and uncertainty. Instead of seeing obstacles as threats to your success, you begin to view them as temporary conditions that will naturally resolve as you maintain your grateful expectation and continue taking aligned action. Now, I want to explore how this foundation of relaxed confidence becomes the launching pad for what the manuscript calls the most practical and immediate technique for transforming your relationship with money itself. Write in the comments, "I release resistance," if you're ready to dissolve anxiety and embrace grateful expectation. The technique that emerges from this foundation of relaxed confidence addresses something most people never consider: the reality-creating power of the words you use every single day. The manuscript reveals that words don't simply describe your current situation, they actively create your future circumstances. Your daily vocabulary acts as a mold that shapes what you receive, making the protection of your language as valuable as protecting gold itself. This concept challenges everything we've been taught about communication. Most people think words are just tools for expressing what's already true, but the manuscript suggests that language is actually a creative force that programs both your subconscious mind and the responsive field around you. Every phrase you repeat consistently becomes a command that your deeper mind works to fulfill, whether you realize it or not. The transformation begins when you recognize how many wealth-destroying phrases have become automatic in your daily speech. When you say things like, "I can't afford it," "money doesn't grow on trees," or "I'm not lucky with money," you're not just describing your current reality, you're reinforcing the very patterns that created it. These seemingly innocent expressions program your subconscious to maintain financial limitation as your normal state. Behind the scenes of this linguistic programming, something remarkable occurs when you deliberately choose words that align with the wealth you want to create. The manuscript provides 7 specific daily declarations that function as what it calls wealth mantras, designed to reprogram your internal operating system for abundance. These aren't just positive affirmations you repeat mechanically, they're precise statements that establish new neural pathways and energetic patterns. The hidden power in phrases like "all money I need flows to me constantly and increasingly" lies in their present tense certainty and their assumption of continuous expansion. When you declare, "I live in an abundant universe and always receive more than I give," you're not hoping or wishing, you're stating a fundamental principle that becomes your operating reality through consistent repetition and emotional alignment. The journey of integrating these mantras requires understanding that they work through repetition and genuine feeling, not magical thinking. Each time you speak these declarations with conviction, you're literally rewiring your brain to expect abundance rather than scarcity. You're nervous system begins to embody the confidence and openness that naturally attracts better opportunities and enables you to recognize possibilities that fear would blind you to. The impact extends beyond personal psychology because these internal shifts change how others perceive and respond to you. When you genuinely operate from the belief that money flows to you easily, your energy becomes magnetic to people who can help accelerate your success. You show up differently in conversations, negotiations, and collaborative opportunities because you're not coming from a place of lack or desperation. The manuscript emphasizes that this practice must be protected from contamination by negative input throughout the day. Just as you wouldn't drink clean water from a dirty glass, you can't maintain wealth consciousness while consistently exposing yourself to scarcity-based language from news, conversations, or internal dialogue. The transformation becomes permanent when you realize that every word choice is actually a decision about which reality you're choosing to reinforce and expand. Now, I want to reveal how this foundation of conscious language creates the perfect conditions for what the manuscript calls aligned action, the bridge that transforms internal transformation into external results. Write in the comments, "My words create abundance," if you're ready to harness the creative power of language. The activation method for these wealth mantras reveals the precise timing that makes this practice most effective, and it's based on how your brain processes information during different states of consciousness. The manuscript specifies repeating these declarations 3 times daily, but each session serves a distinct neurological purpose that amplifies the overall transformation. The morning practice functions as mental programming, taking advantage of the brief window when you first wake up and your subconscious mind is most receptive to new input. During these first moments of consciousness, your brain is transitioning from the theta state of sleep into full awareness, creating an ideal opportunity to install wealth-based beliefs before your analytical mind starts filtering and questioning. When you declare your abundance mantras during this window, while genuinely feeling them as absolutely true, you're essentially programming your mental computer with the operating system you want to run throughout the day. The midday repetition serves a completely different function, maintaining high vibration when the world around you might be pulling your energy toward problems, complaints, or scarcity thinking. This practice acts as a reset button that brings you back to abundance consciousness, regardless of whatever challenges or distractions have emerged since morning. The hidden power in this timing is that it prevents your wealth programming from being gradually eroded by the countless small encounters with limitation-based thinking that fill most people's days. The nighttime practice leverages your brain's natural processing during sleep, when your subconscious mind reviews and integrates the day's experiences, while your conscious resistance is completely offline. By ending your day with wealth declarations, you're giving your deeper mind specific instructions about what to focus on and develop during the hours when it has unlimited access to your memory, creativity, and problem-solving capabilities. Behind the scenes of this systematic approach, something crucial happens that most people overlook. The manuscript warns that wealth begins in the mind, which means mental contamination can destroy prosperity before it ever materializes in your bank account. This isn't just about staying positive, it's about defending your new programming against external negativity with the same vigilance you'd use to protect a rare gold seed that could grow into a fortune-producing tree. The transformation requires recognizing that your mind is like fertile soil that will grow whatever seeds are planted most consistently. If you spend 30 minutes programming wealth consciousness, but then expose yourself to hours of news, complaints, and scarcity-based conversations, you're essentially watering weeds while starving your valuable crops. The negative input doesn't just neutralize your positive practice, it actively works against it by reinforcing the old patterns you're trying to change. The journey of protecting your mental Environment reveals how vulnerable new beliefs are in their early stages. Just as a physical seed needs protection from harsh weather and competing plants, your emerging wealth consciousness needs protection from doubt, criticism, and the countless subtle messages that reinforce financial limitation. This protection isn't about living in a bubble or denying reality. It's about being selective about what influences you allow into your mind during this crucial reprogramming phase. The impact of this mental hygiene extends far beyond feeling good or staying motivated. When you consistently protect your wealth programming from contamination, you maintain the internal conditions necessary for recognizing opportunities, making confident decisions, and taking actions that someone operating from scarcity consciousness would never attempt. Now, I want to explore how this foundation of protected programming creates the perfect environment for what the manuscript calls the most practical and immediate bridge between internal transformation and external wealth manifestation. Write in the comments, "I protect my programming," if you're committed to defending your wealth consciousness from mental contamination. The bridge between internal transformation and external wealth manifestation requires mastering what the manuscript calls opinion defense strategy, and this might be the most underestimated skill in the entire wealth-building process. The hidden truth is that other people's negative opinions about money and success can literally reprogram your subconscious with their limiting beliefs, often without you even realizing it's happening. Think about how this contamination occurs in everyday interactions. When someone says, "Money doesn't buy happiness, rich people are greedy," or "you have to sacrifice everything for success," they're not just sharing their perspective, they're transmitting their programming directly into your mental environment. If you absorb these statements without conscious filtering, they become part of your belief system and start influencing your decisions and actions from the inside. The transformation requires developing active filtering mechanisms that protect your wealth consciousness the moment negative input appears. This isn't about avoiding all criticism or living in an echo chamber. It's about recognizing when someone's opinion reflects their own limitations rather than universal truth. The manuscript suggests immediate mantra reinforcement after negative interactions, essentially using your wealth declarations to restore your programming after it's been exposed to contamination. Behind the scenes of this protection strategy, something crucial happens to your confidence and decision-making ability. When you stop absorbing other people's financial fears and limitations as if they were facts, you maintain the internal clarity necessary to see opportunities and take actions that their programming would prevent. You begin to recognize that most negative opinions about wealth come from people who haven't achieved the financial success you're pursuing, making their advice irrelevant to your journey. The manuscript takes this concept even further with what it calls a 7-day mental diet, a radical cleanse that reveals just how much external negativity has been influencing your thoughts and energy without your awareness. This week-long experiment involves eliminating all news consumption, toxic social media, and complaint-based conversations while consuming only content that aligns with abundance mentality. The impact of this mental diet becomes apparent within days as you notice dramatic increases in your energy levels, creativity, and optimism. Most people don't realize how much mental bandwidth is consumed by processing negative information that has no relevance to their personal goals. When you redirect that attention toward wealth-building content, inspiring stories, and solution-focused discussions, your entire mental atmosphere shifts toward possibility rather than problems. The journey of completing this 7-day cleanse reveals something profound about the relationship between input and output in your mental ecosystem. Just as your physical body reflects what you feed it consistently, your financial results reflect the mental diet you maintain daily. The cleanse isn't meant to be permanent isolation from reality. It's designed to help you recognize the difference between useful information and mental junk food. During this week, you'll likely discover that most of the news, social media, and casual conversations you were consuming provided no practical value for building wealth. Instead, they were filling your mind with problems you can't solve, conflicts that don't affect you, and limitations that don't apply to your situation. This awareness allows you to make more conscious choices about what influences you allow into your mental space going forward. The hidden revelation is that creativity and opportunity recognition flourish when your mind isn't constantly processing fear-based information. Problems that seemed impossible start revealing solutions. Business ideas that weren't visible before suddenly become obvious. Connections between seemingly unrelated concepts begin emerging naturally because your brain has the space to make those innovative leaps. Now, I want to explore how this foundation of protected mental environment creates the perfect conditions for what the manuscript calls aligned action, the final bridge that transforms all this internal work into tangible financial results. Write in the comments, "I control my mental diet," if you're ready to take responsibility for what influences your wealth consciousness. The protected mental environment creates the perfect conditions for what the manuscript calls aligned action principle. And this is where many people discover the gap between understanding these concepts intellectually and actually transforming their financial reality. The hidden truth is that thinking and visualizing alone aren't enough to create lasting wealth. You must take actions that align with your wealthy identity, which means acting from confidence and clarity as your rich self would, not from the fear or scarcity that created your current circumstances. This distinction changes everything because most people take action from their current identity rather than their desired identity. They make decisions based on their present limitations, negotiate from their existing insecurities, and pursue opportunities with the energy of someone who isn't sure they deserve success. This misalignment between internal programming and external behavior creates a contradiction that sabotages results before they can fully manifest. The transformation happens when you recognize that every action you take is either reinforcing your old identity or building your new one. When you choose the restaurant your wealthy self would choose, invest in the education your successful self would prioritize, or speak with the confidence your abundant self would naturally possess, you're not pretending or living beyond your means. You're embodying the frequency that attracts the circumstances, matching that identity. Behind the scenes of this process, the manuscript reveals what it calls the invisible bridge concept, which explains how aligned action creates a connection between your current state and your desired state that exists beyond physical reality. Each coherent action you take adds a plank to this manifestation bridge, while fear-based actions break planks and weaken the entire structure you're trying to build. The journey of understanding this bridge requires recognizing that coherent actions feel different from desperate actions. When you're operating from aligned action, there's a sense of natural flow and confidence, even if the outcome isn't guaranteed. You're making decisions from expansion rather than contraction, from possibility rather than limitation. These actions strengthen the bridge because they're consistent with the identity you're developing. Fear-based actions create a completely different energy signature. When you make choices from desperation, scarcity, or the need to prove yourself, you're actually reinforcing the very patterns that keep you stuck. Even if these actions produce short-term results, they weaken your long-term capacity to sustain wealth because they're built on the foundation of lack rather than abundance. The impact of this principle extends beyond individual decisions to transform your entire approach to opportunity and risk. Instead of asking, "Can I afford this risk?" you start asking, "Would my wealthy self see this as an opportunity or a distraction?" This shift in questioning leads to completely different choices that accumulate over time into dramatically different results. The hidden revelation is that aligned action often requires doing things before you feel completely ready, but from a place of confident preparation rather than reckless desperation. Your wealthy self would invest in high-quality tools, seek out expert guidance, and position themselves strategically before opportunities become obvious to everyone else. Now I want to explore how this bridge-building process creates what the manuscript calls personal magnetism, the invisible force that draws opportunities, resources, and people toward you without any effort or manipulation on your part. Write in the comments, "I take aligned action," if you're ready to build your invisible bridge to wealth. The bridge-building process reveals something the manuscript calls your personal magnetic field, and this concept fundamentally changes how you approach wealth creation. The hidden truth is that you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. This means that creating a magnetic field through consistent thoughts and emotions naturally draws opportunities, people, and resources toward you without any chasing, forcing, or manipulation on your part. This principle challenges the conventional approach of pursuing opportunities aggressively or trying to convince people to work with you. Instead, the transformation happens when you realize that your internal state is constantly broadcasting a signal that either attracts or repels the circumstances you claim to desire. When you operate from confidence, abundance, and certainty, you become magnetic to people and situations that match that frequency. The journey of developing this magnetic field requires understanding that authenticity is crucial. You can't fake this energy or put on a temporary performance. People's subconscious minds are remarkably skilled at detecting incongruence between what someone says and what they genuinely believe about themselves. When there's alignment between your internal state and external expression, others naturally feel drawn to collaborate, invest, or support your endeavors. Behind the scenes of this magnetism, the manuscript reveals the practice of abundance frequency cultivation, which creates what it calls your energetic signature. Maintaining confidence, certainty, and gratitude as your dominant emotions establishes the abundance frequency that attracts wealth-building opportunities. The technique involves just 3 daily minutes of feeling genuinely grateful for your future wealth as if it's already real, which supposedly changes your entire energetic signature. This brief daily practice works because it programs your nervous system to expect good things rather than preparing for disappointment or struggle. When you consistently feel the emotions associated with financial success, your body language, voice tone, and overall presence begin reflecting that internal state. These subtle changes influence how others perceive your competence, trustworthiness, and potential for success. The transformation extends beyond personal interactions to affect your decision-making patterns and risk tolerance. When you operate from the abundance frequency, you naturally make choices that someone with wealth consciousness would make. You invest in yourself before seeing immediate returns. You pursue opportunities that require growth rather than staying in your comfort zone. And you collaborate rather than compete because you understand there's enough success for everyone. The impact of this magnetic field becomes apparent in unexpected ways. Conversations flow more easily toward profitable topics. People mention opportunities that seem perfectly suited to your skills and interests. Resources become available just when you need them. These synchronicities aren't coincidences. They're the natural result of broadcasting a frequency that resonates with abundance rather than scarcity. The manuscript emphasizes that this isn't about positive thinking or affirmations alone, but about embodying the emotional and energetic state of someone who expects prosperity. This embodiment changes everything from your posture to your breathing to your willingness to take calculated risks. Now, I want to explore how this magnetic field creates the foundation for what the manuscript calls laser-focused intention, the concentrated mental energy that transforms desires into inevitable outcomes through sustained directional force. Write in the comments, "I am magnetic to wealth," if you're ready to cultivate your personal abundance frequency. The magnetic field you've cultivated becomes the foundation for what the manuscript calls laser-focused intention, and this technique distinguishes successful wealth builders from those who remain trapped in perpetual hoping and wishing. The hidden truth is that directed intention concentrates your mental energy like a laser beam on specific objectives, sustained long enough for circumstances to reorganize themselves in your favor. This principle separates scattered desires from focused mental commands that actually produce measurable results. Most people approach goal setting with what the manuscript calls scattered intention. They want multiple things simultaneously without concentrating their mental energy on any single outcome long enough to create real momentum. This diffusion of focus ensures that nothing receives the sustained attention required for significant transformation. The journey toward laser-focused intention requires making difficult decisions about what deserves your complete mental commitment versus what merely sounds appealing in the moment. The transformation occurs when you understand that intention isn't just thinking about something you want. It's directing concentrated mental energy toward a specific outcome with the same precision a laser beam cuts through solid material. This level of focus requires eliminating competing desires that dilute your power and maintaining directional force even when external circumstances suggest your goal is impossible or impractical. Behind the scenes of this concentrated approach, the manuscript reveals what it calls three-step intention creation, a systematic method for developing the kind of focused mental command that supposedly reshapes reality itself. The first element involves absolute clarity, which means describing your precise goal with such specificity that anyone could understand exactly what you're creating. Vague intentions like financial freedom or business success lack the definition required for focused energy direction. The second element introduces emotional charge, which involves feeling the accomplished state as if your intention has already materialized. This isn't visualization alone, but accessing the actual emotional experience of having achieved your specific goal. The manuscript suggests that intention without emotional involvement remains purely intellectual and lacks the power to influence your subconscious programming or external circumstances. Daily anchoring forms the third element, requiring morning and evening reaffirmation of your intention with complete conviction. This repetition isn't mechanical recitation, but conscious reconnection with both the clarity and emotional charge of your focused objective. The manuscript emphasizes that this practice must be maintained regardless of current evidence or temporary setbacks that might suggest your intention isn't working. The impact of this systematic approach extends beyond personal psychology because focused intention apparently influences what the manuscript calls reality's responsiveness to your mental commands. Whether you understand this as quantum mechanics, subconscious programming, or spiritual principle, the practical effects remain consistent. People who maintain laser-focused intention tend to encounter opportunities and resources that directly support their specific objectives. The hidden revelation is that this level of focus requires sacrificing other appealing possibilities to concentrate your energy completely on your chosen outcome. This sacrifice isn't about limitation, but about understanding that dispersed attention produces dispersed results, while concentrated attention creates concentrated power. Now, I want to explore how this foundation of laser-focused intention creates the conditions for what the manuscript calls decisive action catalyst, the final element that transforms mental energy into tangible wealth creation. Write in the comments, I focus my intention. If you're ready to concentrate your mental energy like a laser beam, the laser-focused intention creates the perfect foundation for what the manuscript calls proactive gratitude power, and this practice represents a fundamental shift from how most people relate to appreciation and thankfulness. The hidden truth is that there's a profound difference between passive gratitude, which thanks after receiving something good, and proactive gratitude, which thanks in advance while acting and feeling as if your desires are already fulfilled. This advance appreciation sends what the text calls creation signals to both your subconscious mind and the responsive field around you. This distinction changes everything about your relationship with manifestation, because passive gratitude keeps you in a reactive position, waiting for good things to happen before you allow yourself to feel abundant. Proactive gratitude operates from the understanding that your emotional state creates your external experience, not the other way around. When you thank the universe for success that hasn't yet appeared physically, you're establishing the internal conditions that make that success inevitable. The transformation occurs when you realize that this isn't about denial or wishful thinking. It's about operating from a different timeline where your desired outcome already exists. The manuscript suggests that all possibilities exist simultaneously in what it calls the quantum field of potential, and your consistent emotional state determines which timeline you experience as your reality. Behind the scenes of this practice, the manuscript reveals a specific morning gratitude ritual that makes proactive gratitude concrete and systematic rather than vague spiritual concept. The daily practice involves writing 3 current blessings that you genuinely appreciate, followed by 3 desired outcomes, expressed as present reality rather than future hopes. The crucial element involves reading these aloud while feeling each item as current truth, not something you're waiting to receive. The journey of implementing this ritual reveals how difficult it can be to genuinely feel grateful for something that doesn't yet exist in your bank account or business reality. Most people discover that their minds resist this practice because it challenges the fundamental belief that you should only feel good about what you can currently see and touch. Breaking through this resistance requires understanding that your feelings create your reality, not merely reflect it. The impact of this morning practice extends throughout your entire day because it establishes an expectation of good things unfolding rather than an attitude of waiting and hoping. When you begin each day feeling grateful for wealth that's already flowing toward you, you naturally make decisions and take actions that someone with that expectation would make. This shift in behavior creates a self-fulfilling prophecy that brings your advanced gratitude into physical manifestation. The hidden revelation is that this practice works because it eliminates the energetic gap between where you are and where you want to be. Instead of operating from the frequency of, "I don't have this yet," you shift to, "I'm grateful this is already happening." This frequency alignment supposedly accelerates the manifestation process by removing internal resistance and doubt that typically block desired outcomes. The manuscript emphasizes that this isn't about forcing positive emotions when you don't feel them, but about consciously choosing which emotional state you want to cultivate and maintain regardless of current circumstances. This choice represents perhaps the most powerful form of personal sovereignty, the ability to determine your internal experience independent of external conditions. Now, I want to explore how this foundation of proactive gratitude creates the perfect launching pad for what the manuscript calls time mastery, the understanding that transforms how you relate to the time required for wealth manifestation. Write in the comments, "I'm grateful in advance," if you're ready to embrace proactive gratitude as your new normal. The foundation of proactive gratitude creates the perfect launching pad for what the manuscript calls intelligent action integration, and this principle bridges the gap between visionary thinking and tangible wealth creation. The hidden truth is that intelligent action balances vision with physical execution, but it's not about doing more things. It's about doing the right things that create maximum impact toward your specific goals. This distinction transforms everything about productivity and effort, because most people confuse activity with progress. They fill their days with tasks that feel important, but don't actually move them closer to financial breakthrough. The manuscript reveals that intelligent action operates from strategic clarity rather than busy work, focusing your limited time and energy on activities that produce compound results rather than immediate gratification. The transformation occurs when you recognize that every action either accelerates your wealth creation or delays it. There's no neutral ground. When you operate from your wealthy identity with laser-focused intention and proactive gratitude, you naturally gravitate toward decisions that someone with abundance consciousness would make. You invest in relationships that compound over time, rather than transactions that provide quick fixes. You choose learning opportunities that develop valuable skills, rather than entertainment that merely passes time. Behind the scenes of this strategic approach, the manuscript introduces what it calls conscious persistence strategy, which distinguishes between productive persistence and stubborn repetition. The revelation is that true persistence isn't blind repetition of the same actions, hoping for different results. It's maintaining focused direction toward your objective while remaining strategically flexible about methods and timing. The journey of understanding conscious persistence reveals one of the most critical insights in the entire manuscript. Most people quit closest to success not because they lack determination, but because they misinterpret obstacles as failure signals instead of recognizing them as natural components of any significant transformation process. This misunderstanding causes them to abandon their efforts just when breakthrough is most likely to occur. The impact of this misinterpretation extends beyond individual disappointment, because it reinforces the limiting belief that wealth creation is either impossible or reserved for people with special advantages. The manuscript suggests that obstacles aren't roadblocks. They're curriculum designed to develop the skills, character, and resilience required to handle the level of success you're pursuing. The hidden revelation is that conscious persistence operates from abundance consciousness rather than scarcity desperation. When you persist from abundance, you're not clinging to one specific opportunity out of fear that nothing else will come along. Instead, you're maintaining directional focus toward your objective while remaining open to unexpected pathways and creative solutions that rigid thinking would miss. This flexibility within focus allows you to adapt your methods without abandoning your destination. When one approach encounters resistance, conscious persistence explores alternative routes rather than repeatedly hitting the same wall. This strategic adaptability often leads to breakthrough innovations that wouldn't have emerged from stubborn repetition of unsuccessful tactics. The manuscript emphasizes that this type of persistence feels different from desperate effort because it's powered by certainty rather than hope. When you operate from the understanding that your success is inevitable if you maintain consistent direction, temporary setbacks become information rather than discouragement. Now, I want to explore how this foundation of intelligent action and conscious persistence creates the conditions for what the manuscript calls the decisive moment, the point where all your internal preparation converges into the external opportunity that changes everything. Write in the comments, "I persist intelligently," if you're ready to embrace conscious persistence as your path to breakthrough. The conditions for breakthrough converge around what the manuscript calls the ultimate resource that separates wealth builders from everyone else. And it's not what most people expect. The hidden truth is that time represents wealth's true currency, more valuable than money itself, because while money can be regained after loss, wasted time never returns. The difference between those who build lasting prosperity and those who remain financially stuck often lies not in talent or available opportunities, but in how they manage their daily hours. This revelation challenges everything our culture teaches about hard work and effort. Most people assume that working longer hours or taking on more responsibilities will eventually lead to financial breakthrough. But the manuscript reveals that wealth builders operate from a completely different relationship with time. They understand that how you spend your hours determines your financial destiny more than how many hours you spend working. The transformation occurs when you recognize that every hour represents an investment opportunity. You can invest time in activities that compound and multiply your wealth-building capacity, or you can spend time on pursuits that provide temporary satisfaction but no lasting financial impact. The wealthy instinctively choose investments over expenses, whether they're dealing with money or time. Behind the scenes of this time mastery, something profound emerges about decision-making and priority management. When you truly understand that time is finite and irreplaceable, you naturally become more selective about commitments, relationships, and opportunities. You start asking different questions. Will this activity move me closer to my financial goals? Is this the best possible use of this irreplaceable hour? Would my wealthy self make this choice? The journey of implementing time consciousness reveals how much energy most people waste on activities that feel important but produce no measurable progress toward their stated objectives. The manuscript suggests that this awareness alone can double your effective productivity without working additional hours, simply by redirecting existing time toward activities that create compound results. This foundation of time mastery creates the perfect conditions for what the manuscript calls decisive action catalyst, which represents the final secret that transforms accumulated knowledge into tangible wealth. The revelation is that without committed execution, all the principles, visualizations, and mental programming remain powerless ideas that exist only in your mind rather than your bank account. The transformation happens through decisive action, not perfect action, not fully prepared action, but committed action that bridges the gap between vision and reality. The manuscript emphasizes that this catalyst moment often arrives before you feel completely ready, requiring you to act from faith in your preparation rather than certainty about outcomes. The hidden truth is that decisive action creates momentum that attracts additional resources, opportunities, and support that wouldn't have appeared while you were still in preparation mode. The universe responds to movement, not intention alone. When you take substantial action aligned with your vision, you send a signal that you're serious about transformation, which mobilizes forces both seen and unseen to support your progress. The impact of this catalyst extends beyond individual accomplishment because decisive action often inspires others to support your vision or join your mission. People are naturally drawn to those who demonstrate commitment through behavior rather than just words. Now, I want to explore how this foundation of decisive action creates what the manuscript calls the compound effect, where all your individual practices begin working together to create exponential rather than linear results. Write in the comments, "I take decisive action now," if you're ready to transform knowledge into tangible wealth through committed execution. The compound effect begins when all these individual practices start working together, creating exponential rather than linear results in your wealth-building journey. Each principle we've explored, from frequency-based thinking to decisive action, operates synergistically with the others, forming what the manuscript calls an unstoppable momentum toward inevitable prosperity. This isn't about perfecting every technique before you begin, but about implementing them consistently until they become your natural way of operating in the world. The transformation you've experienced just by absorbing these concepts represents the beginning of a much deeper journey. Your mind has been exposed to possibilities that most people never discover, and that exposure alone has already begun shifting your internal programming. The question now isn't whether these principles work, it's whether you'll apply them with the consistency and commitment required to produce tangible results. If you've stayed with me through this entire exploration of the Hidden Wealth manuscript, you're clearly someone who recognizes value when you see it, and who's serious about creating lasting financial transformation. That commitment to learning and growth is exactly what separates those who achieve breakthrough from those who remain stuck in old patterns. The insights we've shared today are just the foundation for a much more comprehensive understanding of how wealth consciousness operates in practical application. If this content has opened your eyes to new possibilities and given you tools you can actually use, I'd appreciate you hitting the like button to let me know this message connected with you. That simple action helps ensure these insights reach others who are ready for this level of transformation. For those who made it all the way to the end, write in the comments, "This message was meant for me," so I can see who truly absorbed this complete teaching. Your presence here isn't accidental. You were drawn to this information because you're ready for what comes next. If you found value in these principles, subscribing to the channel ensures you'll receive the ongoing guidance and advanced techniques that build upon this foundation. The journey toward wealth. Consciousness doesn't end with understanding these concepts. It deepens as you discover how to integrate them seamlessly into your daily life and business decisions. There's a video right here that takes these principles even further, showing you exactly how to implement the most powerful techniques in practical, step-by-step detail. Click and continue with me over there, because what we've covered today is just the beginning of what's possible when you truly understand the hidden science of wealth creation.